Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2 Point Conversion Monday night pregame show. Wild card edition. Ooh, it's so wild. I'm Kyle Senra here. I'll get a calmer, more tame shout out to my co host tonight, Gladys. How are you doing?
I'm doing super good in the super wild card, super wild card um, weekend. Our last Monday night show, a little sad, but still, it's always good times.
I'm Kyle
Always
Senra
good
here.
times, and
I'll
I'm
get
happy that
a
you're
calmer,
here.
more. Yeah, I'm also happy to be here. Playoff football is amazing. I always love it. It's so
Isn't
fun.
it? It is. I think, and I was like, in one of the articles I wrote, I was wondering, is it so much fun because we no longer have like fantasy to worry about?
I think that's I think that is part of it, but I also think we're getting the best teams. This is the best quality football, and it means the most as much as the regular season is incredibly important. I think I noticed, like, for instance, there seemed like there were less penalties. Like, there were some games where the first penalty was being called in the third quarter or late in the second quarter. And part of me is like, okay, yeah, maybe that's the refs being told to just ref how they really should anyway, and only call it if you're certain. Don't just call things if you think they're there. But I also wonder if it's just the teams that have made it this far are good quality teams that don't make so many mistakes and aren't going to take a bunch of penalties all the time. And maybe that's part of because they haven't taken penalties, they've had success. Like, it's chicken and egg type of theory. But I think to wrap it all up, I think we're just seeing the best teams right now, right? Like, these are supposed to be the best teams from this season. And frankly, I think based on wild card weekend, we got that. Even the games like the Bills Dolphins, for instance, that was the highest projected. That was the highest spread for a wild card game in history. I think it was 13.5 for the Bills, and they didn't cover that. I mean, they still won, but they won by 3, 4.
hmm Yeah, I mean, for sure, if you're a betting person, the bets this weekend would have been to take the lines on the underdogs, and you come out pretty good. Who's the Facebook user that's digging out of the snow? Who's in? Where's it snowing?
Minnesota Fraud Kings at, and maybe that is actually where this snow person is.
Is
Wish I
that
could be there,
Yeti?
y'all. Digging out, shoveling all day. Yeah, it
Is that
probably is
Yeti?
Getty. It's the
Okay.
snow and it's all the tears from all the Vikings fans, and it froze over, so it's like a lot of ice everywhere. It's really dangerous for driving, so stay safe. Hit
Yeah.
all his props. So good job, Yeti. And I mean,
Good job.
Yeti would of course be at home in a snowy, icy conditions.
Yeah, and he would hit all his
Not Gator.
props.
Gator would not be at home in these conditions.
What up, Gator? Gator's in Cali, right?
Uh, Florida, I believe.
Oh,
The Florida Gators.
oh, that's who he's for. But is that where he lives now?
I thought so. Maybe I'm wrong. I thought he was a
Oh,
Floridian.
maybe Georgia. We were
Georgia.
both
So you're
wrong.
both wrong, but I was technically geographically closer, but it doesn't really matter. I'm still wrong. So it's funny
uh,
because snow is ice in Minnesota, and I guess there's no ice in the 49ers defense's veins.
oh my
Not so
God,
clutch.
they're so clutch. Is that what that is?
I don't
Of
know.
course, it's snowing in
Of
Minnesota.
course, it's snowing in Minnesota. The Giants won up. I should say this in Dan's accent. The Giants won a playoff game, and hell froze over. Get amongst them. Get around them.
I,
Get amongst them. Get
I don't
amongst the
think
Discord as well.
that's Dan's playoff.
Going42.com/Discord if you want all this crazy talk with all these crazy people on. Well, I won't call you crazy. We'll say me. But on screen
I'm
in the
not in
comments.
Discord, so it's okay. I
Yeah.
don't go on
Yes.
Discord.
So going42.com/Discord or discord.com/going4two. I'm sorry. You can also go to going4two.com though, and get all sorts of articles, access to all the podcasts, and all the advice we give for fantasy, DFS, redraft, dynasty.
You know what? I don't think I played any props. I played the lines, but I played the money line, so I didn't come out like that much further ahead. But I wonder, Yeti, what props did you play, or like what were the big props that you played? Because I didn't see any props that I thought were that enticing for the first weekend. Although tonight's game, I have some props that I liked, but I mean, they were just all like meh. Except if you played, like the points with Miami and points with Seattle, then you probably came out pretty good.
It's funny because
Yeah.
yeah, assuming this is Yeti talking about the 49ers cover. They were one of the teams that actually did cover their spread, and that was like a 9.5.
Oh, wait. Who did the Niners play?
The Seahawks. As you mentioned, that
Oh,
second half, they needed that big second half barrage to
I
cover.
thought was it 9? I thought it was like, I thought they were both double digits. I thought Miami and
Maybe
Seahawks.
they got to 10 eventually, and 10.5, but I think they
Oh.
still covered that anyway because they won by 18, I believe.
Oh, really?
So they were.
Yeah,
I think they
softball
were the
chicken.
only favored to cover their spread because I mean the Vikings and Chargers outright lost.
Oh, it's
and...
Courtney, it's not Yeti.
Oh, Courtney. Oh, that's right. Yeah, she mentioned it was going to be a lot of snow. Right? She told me that too. She was maybe potentially going to come on, but yeah.
I just learned, and this is
So maybe it's not snowing in Minnesota, but we'll say it is anyway. Sorry to give the false report.
that I didn't know it snowed in Lake Tahoe. For some reason, in my head, Lake Tahoe is like closer to Cali. But my friend of mine was talking about how he's going to move up to Lake Tahoe because of the skiing there. So be careful, Courtney, and especially if you have to take your son somewhere. Yeah, I did not realize it snowed in Lake Tahoe. And Discord Dan is out with his kids, Gator. He's doing the dad. He's doing the dad thing.
That was the secret. I don't know if the dad wanted us to tell. Well, no,
Why?
It's not. I'm just kidding.
That he's a good dad. He doesn't want people to know that he's a good dad.
Yeah, the barrage, right? He teaches them drum lessons, and that's it.
With a drum set that he doesn't know how it got there. That's great.
It is Courtney, but no, I wanted to click on this. So apparently, Gator can't wait to get after these props, as Dan would say, get amongst them.
Get amongst them.
And so we could actually just start by previewing the Monday night game. It usually is. It's funny how it's a Monday preview show. Usually, Doc's not here, so we normally would focus a lot on injuries, but we always leave that for the end. But we might as well just jump to it now if you'd like.
Yeah, unless someone wants to talk about. Hi, Mr. Scampers. How you doing? Unless Scampers lives in Tahoe too. What is happening? I'm gonna have to move to Tahoe.
Yeah, Mr. Scampers. Of course, it's if the cat knows.
Yeah, if the cat is there, it has to be good. Yeah, unless someone wants to talk about any of the games this.
We can talk about that afterwards. We can start with this one and see what we have time left for. But yeah, it's Cowboys at Buccaneers. Right now, the over-under, at least the last time I checked, was at 45.5. Cowboys favored by 2.5. And I guess before we get into that, also mention the promo code that you can use to join Underdog. GF2, capital G, capital F, the digit 2, the number 2. GF2 stands for going for 2. And again, use our going for 2 promo code on Underdog to get a 100% deposit match up to $100. So double your money as you join, and maybe you use it tonight to bet on some of these games, or I guess this game. Any first thoughts by seeing either of these, the over/under or the fact that the Cowboys are favored by 2.5?
No, Jamie's crazy. Jamie, you Cleveland crazy man. What makes you think the Cowboys are going to beat Brady tonight? The Cowboys have never beaten Brady ever. 7-0, I think Brady's record against the Cowboys, my friend. 7-0. What do you think? I think that 2.5. I would take. I'm giving Tampa. I take Tampa and plus 2.5, or Tampa on the money line plus 120. I think it is right now. I don't think Cowboys are going to win this game. I don't. I hope they don't. But yeah. Oh, it's -3 now. Shit. I would still do negative. I would still take +3. I would take the Cowboys +3. And
no, it's the Cowboys. Or wait, sorry, I thought you were saying they wouldn't win against.
They're not going to win.
So
I would take the Bucks +3.
Oh, Bucks. I thought you said okay. My mistake. Yeah.
And I would go actually under. I think on 45.5.
Well, actually, if it goes up to 3, that almost makes it better, right? The higher the line goes, the better it is for the Bucks because they pick the Bucks. So yeah. Especially if the line is
Oof. Yeah. Money line. Wow. I don't understand why all this money's on the Cowboys. I don't get
well, and I wonder if it's looking at their records, right? Because even though the Buccaneers are the home team, the Cowboys have the better record this year. So I'm guessing that factors in to what they think will be here. But I tend to agree with you looking at the quarterbacks. As good as I think Dak Prescott is, It is Tom Brady after all, and so to give him, you don't usually get to pick Tom Brady as an underdog in the playoffs, and maybe you might
Right.
get to throughout these playoffs, especially if they win tonight. So I would agree with Gladys and say go with the Buccaneers as underdogs.
So is the B League. He's going Tampa +3 for him too. And then I think the whole Sean Payton going to Dallas thing. I mean, if you're looking over your shoulder, like Mike McCarthy has to be doing, it's got to, you're not concentrating on the game, you're concentrating on your job. And now,
I mean, I guess his job is to win playoff games. He's supposed to know that. So like you should be focused. If like you want to save your job, you got to win this game anyway.
Yeah.
Like make it be as difficult decision for Jerry as possible. Because if McCarthy loses this game and you as a head coach with this franchise quarterback in place and this amazing receiver in CeeDee Lamb who really stepped up this year, you've got who was an early candidate for Defensive Player of the Year in Micah Parsons. Probably doesn't look like he's going to get it now. But you've got all these pieces in place, and if they lose tonight, that's 0 playoff wins for Mike McCarthy. So for him, his job's on the line tonight. Probably he's got to justify, make it tough. Like, okay, if you can get that playoff win and make it tough on Jerry to say, I'm going to fire you after a playoff win. I mean, obviously wouldn't do it tonight after they win, but like presuming they lose at some point this year.
But if you were Sean Payton, would you rather go to Dallas or to San Diego? Or Los Angeles Chargers, whatever they are now. I heard someone say that for Sean Payton, because New Orleans is going to ask for so much, like they're going to ask for a first-round pick to get him out of that contract. But for Sean Payton, it's not about the roster construction. It's more about the ownership.
Yeah. What kind of control does he have as well?
Is he going to get? And I don't see him have much control in either of those scenarios. Like, Jerry Jones is everywhere. And then what is it, Spano, that is the Los Angeles? He's kind of not the greatest person in the world either. So
I'd imagine that would be one where that's not one where the owner necessarily acts as the GM like it does with the Cowboys.
sure.
It feels like he'll never get final say for sure there. You might be able to like supersede the GM in with the Chargers if that's what it takes to get him. So I think if you're Sean Payton, that's maybe what you're looking for. Does Denver, do the Chargers, do the Cardinals offer that opportunity? You've got quarterbacks there to varying degrees. I mean, if you look at the quarterback situations, I think you'd want to have Herbert, right? I don't know if that's why you gravitate towards that one first, because Russ Wilson or an injured Kyler Murray. Give me Justin Herbert. I'd much rather have his tools to work.
Well, what about Dak? What about Cowboys?
And then assuming that, like you're saying about the control, like if we assume that Jerry won't give him control, I could see maybe the Chargers being willing to give him the full control, give him final say. Same with those other teams. But you're right, like Dak is probably more appealing to work with than Russell Wilson. I would agree with that for sure.
I would almost agree with that, except for the last 2 games without Hackett, you saw a glimpse of what you thought Russell Wilson was going to be. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if it was the system that he was working in, or if he.
The one thing I'll say is Wilson had a good game with Hackett the first game against the Chiefs too. It was one of the few bright spots that he did have with Hackett, but I think right before he got injured, actually.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know if that's so much the coach as Wilson struggling this year. I don't know. It is strange. Maybe it does seem like Hackett probably wasn't the best choice for the job. So it does seem like Broncos almost banking on Sean Payton, and if they don't, they have no idea how to hire someone else. Like, he's an amazing head coach, great offensive mind, but if short of someone who's already that reputable and already has that type of results, the Broncos, this ownership doesn't seem like they know what they actually need to look for in a head coach. That's the scary
But the Broncos don't have a first-round pick. They don't have a first-round draft pick. So, I mean, if that's what New Orleans is asking, they're automatically out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I suppose.
So
could they trade something of value enough? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
can they,
Wilson?
Are they just going to agree to take on one of the Saints' bad contracts and help free them up some cap space? Is that maybe more than draft picks? They just want people to take on their bad contracts.
I hope not. I hope not. I mean, I'm not a Broncos fan. You guys know that, but I don't want to hear the crying for another year. I can't. I just can't. These fans
And
here are
then
like ridiculous.
it's funny how all these teams does that price almost hinder it. Chargers quietly have an aging roster, is what Mr. Scamper says. Giving up draft picks makes it even less a desirable roster.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I don't think anyone is.
they have San Fran's first. Oh, right. The Bradley Chubb trade. That's correct. So the Broncos ended up getting a first round pick.
I thought. Wait, they have San Fran's first via Miami for Chubb.
Because I think
what pick? Because San Fran still has the 10th pick. So what pick is that? Do you know? You know,
see,
Dan?
I thought San Fran gave up all their picks.
No, I did too. And then I saw ESPN had the first 10 picks up, and San Fran was in the number 10 spot.
Who's that even belong to? I'm not sure
I
who
don't
they
know.
even traded for.
Real quick, Gator, if you go into that MGM, Zeke's line is 1 yard shorter. It's 48.5. I would go over, but you're going lower. I don't know. It's I've gone higher. Wow.
It's, okay, so yeah, apparently Dan's putting this together for us. So the Dolphins got the 49ers trade up for Lance. They got that first, and then they've sent that first to the Denver to get Bradley Chubb in season. So Denver ends up having, which will, I guess, be the 49ers pick. So right now that'll be what? There's 8 teams left. So right now that would be 24th at best. And even then, you'd need all the favored teams to lose for that one to be the case. So that's likely going to be, in the mid 20s to potentially the 32nd pick that Denver has. So is that early enough to want for the Saints? Because I guess Gator's saying the report is the Saints are going to supposedly ask for a mid to late first round pick. So that would be that's more towards the late side. So is that enough?
I don't know. Hey, this is for Courtney because she's a huge Saints fan. What do the Saints need that's paramount for them, or is it just a bargaining price?
I mean, just say off the bat,
Sean Payton.
They need a quarterback, right?
I don't know. They didn't play Jameis all season because he was back. So are we saying that Jameis is done, even though he didn't get a chance to play this year?
Well, I think his contract's done, though. I think this was year 2 of the 2-year contract, unless I'm mistaken. So he's going to be a free agent. So they've got really no ties to have to keep him. Maybe they still keep him anyway because he hasn't started much. Like teams probably aren't knocking down the door to get him in free agency.
Right, but I'm saying like he was presumptive starter before he got hurt. I mean, the reason he stopped playing wasn't because he wasn't playing well. It was because he had that injury, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. It seemed like it. It is a weird situation because they later kind of came out and put an emphasis on the reason he left was because of injury, but the reason we're putting him back is because of performance. Or the reason we're not
there was no performance to go off on because he was injured. I don't know. I mean,
and then you have the Kamara suspensions. There's a lot with the Saints right now. And again, I think they're already in negative cap space, so they've already got to figure things out before they can even think about bringing anyone else in anyway. So, Shane Manila joining us and bringing a good point. Maybe just if it's going to cost that much, maybe the Saints are just putting this price out so much that it almost keeps Sean Payton out of a job. They almost kind of say, okay, you want to go back and coach, it's got to be for us, or we're taking away your first round pick at the next spot you go to.
I totally forgot about the Panthers. Yeah,
they haven't fully committed to Steve Wilkes yet either.
Which is really crazy because he did more with that team than.
Man, I don't even know why the Cardinals fired him in the first place. Like everything surrounding Steve Wilkes is crazy. So it's par for the course for the NFL as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I mean, I heard that Kingsbury had a one-way ticket to Thailand, which is kind of weird, but whatever. I don't think anyone wants that job either. I mean, I think there are a lot of jobs that coaches are going, maybe I'll just hold up until
the Texans job right now seems like that's not one you necessarily.
They've had four coaches in 4 years? No, 3 coaches in 3 years.
It's funny how the 49ers almost went through something like that when they got after Harbaugh. They had Chip Kelly the 1 year. That was a disaster. They had, but then Tom Sula, he was their linebackers coach, and he didn't go from linebacker to DC. They went straight from linebacker to head coach, and Yeah, and yeah, and now I mean now they got Shanahan, so that seems to have calmed things down.
Yeah, but I mean, what coach in their right mind would say, yeah, the Texans, they have no roster basically, um, and they've had 3 coaches in 3 years. Their
I
owner
get.
obviously isn't one who says, "Hey, I'm going to give you like 2 years or 3 years to figure this out."
I guess the one advantage is it looks like they're probably getting a quarterback this year. It presumably they're right now they're I think they're at the second overall pick. Assuming they stay at that spot, they're probably taking a quarterback there. So you get tied to whatever you think is that franchise quarterback, and that maybe buys you time. That's been the ingredient missing for these last 2 coaches. It was
Ugh.
curious with Lovie Smith. For David Culley, it seemed like this was probably his only opportunity to get a head coaching job. It seemed like this was it. Like this was for someone who had coached for as long as he had, didn't seem like he had gotten much consideration. So you finally had a team willing to make you head coach. So I think it made sense for Culley. Lovey Smith, who's had that experience before, he maybe saw it as a reclamation project he'd come and fix. But yeah, that was a little more curious. We'll see. Maybe it's another one of those. Maybe that's what the Texans are going to have to go for. Not a young head coach. It's going to have to be an older head coach who hasn't had an opportunity to be a head coach yet. And well, this is the only team offering me the chance, so we'll take it. And
I
will
mean, the
that work?
only upside is like you could say I couldn't do much worse. So anything I do is going to look like an improvement. But Smith did that. Lovey Smith did that, and he got fired. So I mean, I don't.
Did he? Supposedly, he might have got fired because he almost did too good the last game.
Oh, so he didn't tank. So it was the old Miami thing. The old Brian Flores. Here, why don't you just tank and get the first? I don't even.
Or
Um,
the owner just says that so the fans won't be mad at them for not tanking. Who knows?
who
Um,
knows? It's Houston. No
but
one
anyway,
wants to go there.
yeah. Speaking of Houston, we can talk Dallas, even though this game is going to be in Tampa. So yeah, so we're both agreeing. Well, the Cowboys are favored. We kind of trusted in Tom Brady more, so pick the underdog Buccaneers. You mentioned some props, and I guess yeah, Gator had a list of props. Um, So I don't know. We can actually just run through Gator's list and see like what we think of his. So he's got Zeke lower than 49.5 rushing yards. Leonard Fournette higher than 4 receptions, as well as Schultz higher than 4 receptions. Evans higher than 65.5 receiving yards, and Pollard higher than 3 receptions. So any lines there stand out to you that you either agree with him really, or you think you should go the other way?
I think Zeke is higher than 49.5 rushing yards. But I bet my bet was at 48 and a half, 48 and a half rushing yards higher. Um, the Evans only worries. Okay, so the Evans is like that dual-edged sword. You know that the Cowboys pass rush defense is formidable, Micah Parsons. So Brady's going to have to get the ball out quick, which he does. It's like what 2.2 seconds or something. He gets the ball out, but that means a dump off. So Godwin, Fournette, Otten, I think, are going to be the 3 that get the majority of receptions. However, one long pass to Evans, and he's going to be close to 65. So if you think that he will have time to get the ball down to Evans, that's a good bet. If you think that, like I do, that he's going to play the dump off game and it's going to be Chris Godwin, it's going to be Leonard Fournette, it's going to be Cade Otten who are going to benefit from that, then I'm not sure I would have gone. I probably would have just faded that one. I wouldn't have gone higher or lower. I would have faded Evans higher than 65.5 receptions,
So it's
receiving
interesting.
yards.
So with his list here, he's got 2 bets that don't necessarily correlate. The Fournette higher on receptions, the Evans higher on the yards. So if you're going to do
Right.
those in like a parlay situation where they're in the same bet, maybe you want to go Fournette higher on those receptions and then Evans lower on the yards, or like you said, just fade it all together. But if you make like 2 separate bets and one for
Right.
each, you're kind of covering
Covering
yourself for
both
the 2
bases.
scenarios.
Yeah.
But to be honest, there could be a scenario where Fournette gets the volume, and like you said, Evans, it takes 1 or 2 catches to get this type of total. So
Right.
there could be a scenario where both of them do happen. So it's funny because of the ones how Gator's going, I kind of agreed with the Evans yards. I don't necessarily love Evans on a catches, but Evans on the yards I think is good. I liked the receptions as well for Fournette, and frankly, I kind of like Zeke going lower on the rushing yards just because this Bucks run defense is really tough. I could see Zeke maybe I'd prefer to go after Zeke's combined yards, thinking he gets maybe more through the air. I remember seeing his receiving yards that were like at 7.5, and that was I think on a different site because I think Gator mentioned DK being DraftKings, but it wasn't Underdog. But if I kind of like Zeke more there, getting over on his receiving yards just because they're so low. I kind of agree with Gator going lower here on rushing.
Well, I know that Vita Vea is coming back, but in the last 4 weeks, I believe the Bucks defense has given up an average of 126.5 rushing yards. It equals out to like 50 and a half per game. They haven't been that formidable in the last 4 weeks. Now they're getting players back that were hurt, so that will probably offset. But I think that the fantasy that the Bucks are still, I mean, they're good, but they have given up rushing yards. The only problem there with the Zeke is the Pollard. So if they're giving up 126, what is the split going to be between the two? Because, but I've also heard that Pollard is injured. Like they held him out week 18, not because, or part of the reason was because he's still suffering from the hip, hamstring, some injury that he has.
Yeah, he missed week 17, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
That Thursday night against the Titans, wasn't it?
Right, and you know that for whatever reason, Jones wants them to feature Zeke. So
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I just think that this is going to be a game where they don't want Dak to lose it for them. So the running game on the Dallas side is going to be. Plus, they want to keep Brady off the field. The running game is going to be paramount for Dallas, which means Zeke and Pollard, if Pollard's healthy.
So, and to talk about that though, but yeah, the questions surrounding Pollard, the two lines that Gator has here that I'm maybe less excited about are the Dallas Cowboys receptions. Schultz with 4 and Pollard with 3, especially Pollard going higher than 3 receptions. And I did see a later comment. Gator said these are the underdog lines. So again, use our promo code GF2 on Underdog if you want to join up and get a double deposit match. But real quick,
I'm okay with the Schultz receptions. I mean, Schultz is like the second highest targeted receiver on the Cowboys behind CeeDee Lamb, right? He's getting a 16.9% target share.
He is, but this is also a tough linebacking core, kind of good at defending the tight ends. I wonder, and this is my next question to see what is, because I saw the line on another site at 2.5 receptions from Michael Gallup. I wonder if that's something I would like to push a little higher. And I wonder what it is on Underdog, but I think that was maybe the one prop that kind of stood out to me was Gallup going over on his receptions, wondering because these are such good linebackers for the Buccaneers, maybe they cover Schultz better. And, the secondary option in this game ends up being Gallup instead of Schultz. So
instead of Schultz.
Gallup's at 3 receptions. Kind of like him being lower than Schultz, to be honest. Now, I guess the other argument is a tough pass rush with the Buccaneers. So do you go with a shorter route guy in Schultz as opposed to Gallup? So
I don't know. I think in a quarterback that is having trouble, like having a career interception streak going, that you trust who you trust. And he trusts CeeDee Lamb and he trusts Schultz. And he trusts Zeke. So I just don't see him.
Interesting stat here that Gator brings up. Tampa is 27th versus tight end, but 3rd against running backs in the pass game. So actually, that I get back to the argument. I think the one I'd maybe change here, Gator, is go away from the Pollard over 3 receptions. Especially if Pollard and Gallup are going to be the same, I would just flip that. I'd prefer to go with Gallup personally.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And you seem confident with the Schultz at 4 receptions.
Yeah, I'm confident with Schultz at the 4 receptions. Here's the thing. I think that when Tampa has like the second highest or the top 5 highest percentage once teams get within the 20-yard line of letting them score, right? So we know that once they get within the 20-yard line, it's going to be either Zeke or Pollard that's going to score. And if Pollard scores, he's going to score through the air, while Zeke is going to score on the ground, right? So that's the only reason. If you think Pollard's going to get 3 chances to get into the end zone once they get in the 20-yard line, I'm okay with that. I wouldn't do it. I think that 3 receptions, I think, is a bit high for Pollard, for either of those running backs. I agree with Kyle. I would flip and go. I think Gallup has a better chance at getting 3 receptions. Are these 3 receptions or 3 pass like targets?
I
See,
would say it's receptions.
oh,
3
then I don't.
targets seems
I
that
wouldn't
seems
even give
low.
Gallup 3 receptions. Then I would fade
I
both of
did look
those.
it up at 2.5. He had gotten more than 2.5 more than half the time that he played this year. If you
Okay.
push the 3, there were a couple games where he got exactly 3 though, so there'll be a couple of those where it's more of a push. I was more excited at 2.5, but I still kind of like it. I like it more than I do Pollard for receptions.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not really crazy about their Pollard. I think Pollard to get 1 or 2, and I think they're going to be touchdowns or in the red zone. But I don't think he's going to catch 3 passes. I just, it
That's
just seems
fair.
kind of like, I think, like I said, I think they're just going to give the ball to Zeke ad nauseum today and just try to make it a run game where Dak doesn't have to mess up and Brady doesn't get on the field.
Now I got a question on Twitter actually from Wheeler. At FF_Wheeler. He'll sometimes join our full press coverage live stream as a viewer. So appreciate Wheeler for that. He's a great guy in the industry, good ranker. So he's doing like some type of fantasy playoffs, and I guess I'll ask you afterwards if you're doing anything fantasy football wise for the playoffs. But who do you want rest of the playoffs? And he's kind of giving the caveat. He assumes that whatever one of these teams tonight gets through probably loses to the 49ers next week. So you're really thinking 2-week basis. But do you want to go with Pollard and Evans, Pollard and Godwin? So it looks like you're taking from one or the other, either Cowboys or Buccaneers. You can't take from the same from both. Like you have to take one from one team, one from the other.
Okay.
So Pollard and Evans, Pollard and Godwin, or Fournette and Lamb, or Rashad White and Lamb.
And this is for next week or for this week?
For both. So you're
Tonight,
playing for
I
this
would
week.
go for Fournette and Lamb.
And that is what I told him too. That's what right now he put a poll out on Twitter, and actually Pollard and Godwin is leading the poll. But
I'm not mad at that.
I like Lamb the most. I think if there's one player I want to get from this game on either side, it's Lamb. Just because, again, back to what I said earlier with the Zeke rushing yards, this Buccaneers run defense is so good that Dallas may not have the choice but to pass. The pass rush of the Cowboys is really good, so maybe that encourages the Buccaneers to run. But then you also have Tom Brady, so like that could be contextual. But I would imagine Dallas gets a ton of pass attempts tonight. So wanting that, I would say I'd want CeeDee Lamb. Just give me the volume of Lamb, and then who's the better option between Fournette and Rashad White? I agree with you. It's Fournette. So that's kind of what led me to that conclusion.
So, and well, are we throwing out Week 18 on both teams, or do we think that Tampa tried to play Week 18?
I think you can. I'd say I'd probably just throw it out if it's easier.
Because
But
in Week 18,
I guess if we're saying neither team tried, if we're comparing both teams' results, we can probably just keep it in.
Week 18, Algier, is that his name? How do you pronounce it? For Atlanta?
Algier, yeah.
He had 135 rushing yards against him. Now, granted, the week before, the Carolina guys had like 70 combined. But I mean, I'm not buying into the fact that teams aren't gonna get rushing yards against Tampa, because I think they are, and I
That's
think
fair.
these
Okay.
two are. Pollard is just so good. I mean, he really is, and he's like that. He's like the Austin Eckler light. You know what I mean? Like you can throw to him. He can get receptions too. And if it's just their game plan to do that, and they just keep shoving the ball, I can see Zeke going above 40, like getting 50, at least 50 yards rushing. Pollard, maybe not as much, but a touchdown or two, or flip that. Zeke getting a touchdown and 2 and Pollard getting 50 rushing yards. I mean, I just think I think that offense tonight is going to flow through Pollard and Zeke, unfortunately, because I have CeeDee Lamb in a best ball. So so I'm gonna lose in that one.
Right, that's
But
fair.
I mean, why wouldn't you? You know what I mean? If Dak is having the problems that he's having, and he looked horrible last week. Like I don't know if he's on that interception streak. So
That
there,
is true. Yeah.
why would you put the game in his hands? And why would you allow Tom Brady, who's beaten you 7 times, like he hasn't lost to you? Why would you let him get a chance to beat you again? I agree. Vita Vea coming back is huge.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
Was listening and he agrees.
But I don't see I don't see Dallas trusting Dak. I just don't. I mean, Mike McCarthy's playing for his job or is coaching for his job. You know, you're going to trust the guy who's like on an interception streak against the GOAT. Let them get short filled. Let him get a short filled. Okay, I'm having dog problems. Jackie, go lay down. Oh, he's such
underdog, not underdog problems though. So everyone should join
No.
Underdog. Going for 2 promo code.
Yeah.
Going for 2 Discord as well. Sorry, we're
Go
gonna
lay down.
promo pimp do GM's job here. Apparently, the offensive lineman Jensen is back as well for the Buccaneers. So
Yeah, but Brady gets the ball out so fast. Like I really don't see Dallas.
that almost helps the run game more. Like that's
Yeah.
maybe if you're thinking Fournette, like the argument again, we're talking about Wheeler's question. If you want to go Lamb Fournette, maybe that's the encouragement there of okay, the Bucks O line's improved. Maybe Fournette gets the touchdown.
I like Fournette tonight. He's like in every what are they called? In every lineup that I have for tonight, I have Fournette. He's either captain or I have him in everyone.
I think he probably gets more touches than either the Cowboys running backs, just because they will be maybe closer to an even split. I could see Fournette getting more of the work than Rachaad White, just because he trusts the veterans. As much as I love Rachaad White, I could see the team trusting the vet who helped win them the Super Bowl a couple years ago.
Plus, he's a better. Isn't he better in pass blocking too, Fournette, than Rachaad White?
Yeah. It seems like White is. I think if you're, I guess the advantage could be if Brady gets out quick. If you're looking just for a dump off option, it seems like White is good at catching the ball. But yeah, not so good if you want to leave him in there and pass protect. That is true. I don't think he's nearly as big as Fournette is, so he's a little bit easier to get in the way.
Not many
more mass for the defenders.
Fournette has lots of mass.
Yeah,
and it's a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
Well, yeah, I mean he's a strong runner, and I mean White's kind of a smaller, shiftier, quick guy, really good athlete. Yeah. Not as good in pass protection, but yeah, enough about pass protection talk. We're not going to necessarily protect our secrets here, but we spoke about it on 2 weeks ago on our regular season finale. Our props picks throughout the season every week. The 4 of us, Gladys, myself, but also our co-host Dan and the Doc, would pick the spread, pick the higher lower on the game, and pick a prop for the week. And Doc ended up winning by about, I think he's 5 picks ahead of Dan, 5.5 picks. So a wide enough margin. So congrats to the Doc.
American Red Cross people.
Yeah. Donate to American Red Cross. That was
in the Doc's name.
For. That's what Doc was playing for. But I also broke down the results kind of individually. And, listen to Gladys, especially we were talking spreads, because you were barely behind Doc. Doc ended up being the best picking the spread against the spread. He was 12-4-1 on the season. But you were right behind him at 11-5-1.
Oh, nice.
So that was your strongest category, and you did really well there. I was 6-10-1 picking against the spread, so apparently don't listen to me. I was really bad to start the year. I think I started the year 1-6-1 to start the year, and I got better. I got better. Yeah. I was improving. Yeah, pretty brutal to start the year. Looking at the higher lower, I actually did win. I went 11-4-2 on the higher lower, and I led the group. So kudos.
Wait,
to me.
Higher lower is what are we talking about?
Like on the game total. Like, are you picking the higher lower on the game total? And yeah, I ended up going
nice
11-4-2. Yeah, I think I had a streak of like 5 in a row at one point. So that seemed to be the one category I was picking well at.
So what did you say for tonight?
Actually, I didn't say anything for tonight. The 45.5, I think it is.
45.5.
I think both these defenses are strong enough. I kind of like the lower.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, Izzy would be proud there. But now it's funny how Dan has a prop show that he does every Monday night. B Leagues Pick'em. He did actually get the most props right of the four of us. He barely beat
Nice.
Doc. He was 10-6-1. Doc was 10-7. So it
So watch the B Leagues prop show. That's
yeah,
the moral of that story.
it is. Anyway, so I thought it was cool to just break down the categories and see how, Doc was the overall winner, but all of us kind of shined in certain areas. So we'll see if that was like just luck from this year, if that's like consistently going to happen if we continue to do this. But yeah, I
No,
just
we
thought
all
that was fun.
next year we have to get Gators like officially in there too, because he always gives our props. He always gives us his props, so we need to put Gator in that and see where he falls.
Yeah, for sure. I know he's got his Chrome Dome picks on the Dynasty Gambit, but I guess did you want to just spend the last 15 minutes or so just talking about the rest of the playoff games we saw this wild card weekend?
We can, if you would so desire, but I mean, we could talk about them let's talk about the Giants game, because
Sure.
we haven't mentioned the Giants yet.
Yeah,
And
shout out to B League and his Giants that got the win.
shout out to Dan and his Giants and the Vikings. So did the Giants? I mean, the Giants played well. I'm not taking anything from them. Danny Dimes was just pretty awesome, actually, and Saquon looked like the Saquon in his rookie year. And Hodgins, which they got from the practice squad from you guys, right? Was he on the Green Bay practice squad, and that's where they picked him up from?
I may have missed that. See, I thought he was in Atlanta, but I always confuse him for Kadarrell Hodge, so I don't think it's actually the same person.
No, those are two different people. But he played well. But first of all, the roughing the passer, that was a bullshit call. If they would have lost the game because of that, I would have been really upset, because I don't know what a big man's supposed to do when you have a little man in your arms. I mean, I don't know. But the throw that Cousins made to Hawkinson wasn't even close to a first down. Like I don't listen to post game interviews because they just say the same thing over and over.
I saw it live too, and I was shocked that that's where he decided to go with on that.
I heard that he was targeting Jefferson, but Jefferson was doubled. So he goes, 5 yards short, and goes to Hawkinson, who for some reason has blonde hair in my head. I don't know why I always think Hawkinson has blonde hair, but every time I see him, I'm like, why doesn't he have blonde hair? I think it has something to do with him being in Detroit. I'm not sure why I thought him being in Detroit would give him blonde hair, but
it's maybe just against the blue, it looks more blonde. Against the purple,
maybe
it looks darker.
I think that's what it is.
Eye. Yeah, because if Jefferson's doubled, is there someone else, Thielen, KJ Osborne, deeper downfield that's one-on-one? No, I tend to agree.
It short, and is the problem that he's so immobile that he can't buy time behind the line to let Justin Jefferson get free or open, and so he just dumps it off to the first one he sees? Because not taking anything away from, it was a great tackle. I mean, it was a great tackle, but he was so short of the line.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree with you that maybe that is it. Maybe just he's you see the limited ceiling that you have with Cousins. He's got a good solid floor for quarterback performance. I thought he played pretty well throughout the game, to be honest. But when it came time
to crunch
needed
time
most on that drive,
and isn't that the knock on Cousins? Like, not at prime time. He's not getting prime time. He can't. Like, when the chips are down, he's gonna fail you.
It's funny because he did get that one playoff win against the Saints a couple years ago, and I think that game went to overtime. I remember he made a big throw to Thielen that got them like inside the 5-yard line. I think it on fourth down. A few plays later, he connected with Rudolph for the winning touchdown. But it was a beautiful throw by Cousins to get Thielen. It was like a 40-yard play or something. So he had that one game where he was clutch, and you wondered is that enough to unlock it? It won't be a problem now, but it seems like back to before that game didn't exist. Gator saying he's just scared to be a clutch QB. Scared QB in the clutch. Sorry.
So if you were rating the quarterback plays for this weekend, how would you rate them from best to worst?
I mean, you'd have to say the 4 winners, or the 5 winners would be the best, right? So I mean, you could maybe argue Daniel Jones was the best quarterback this weekend,
Okay.
and maybe
So
Brock Purdy was the second.
okay.
Josh Allen as well, I think. He did throw some interceptions, but
Yeah.
yeah, I go probably Jones. I mean, Burrow was good, but yeah, that was game is a lot closer than expected. I think I probably would say Daniel Jones was the best quarterback this weekend. It seemed like he was incredibly efficient. I also think the coaching staff, they threw a lot on first down. If I had any complaint for the Giants, is that they maybe didn't run enough. Like
Mhm.
Barkley got 9 carries, and he was running pretty effectively on those 9 carries. So was that something they maybe should have used more? But it didn't seem like the moment was not too big for Daniel Jones. Like he didn't really make any mistakes. I think of the
No.
mistakes made on offense were maybe more the receivers making drops. So
Yeah. Slayton, that drop from Slayton was brutal. Um,
yeah,
so
that's true.
you do Jones, Purdy. Who's your third?
Probably Josh Allen. Could maybe
Okay.
argue
And
Burrow, but I think I'd go Josh Allen.
four?
Yeah, probably Burrow there, and then fifth would be Lawrence. As much as the end of game was great, he did put them in a big hole with those interceptions. So like he needed to be better, and then yeah, you'd probably go the 5 quarterbacks that lost from there. Um, Cousins may be the best out of the ones that lost. To be honest, maybe Cousins or Skylar Thompson. Surprisingly, I don't know that anyone
I
thought
thought
he would
Skylar
be.
Thompson was surprisingly good, actually.
I'd argue maybe Justin Herbert's at the end of this list.
Really?
Tyler Huntley is probably the last one, but maybe I'd probably go Tyler Huntley 10, Justin Herbert 9. As much
Would Ty
as
would Tyler Huntley be further up your list if he didn't have that play that resulted
yeah,
in
he'd probably be ninth if he didn't have the fumble, but now he's 10th because of it. Yeah, no, maybe. It was such a key moment. Probably cost them the game, to be honest.
well, I mean, they had a chance, like,
Yeah,
and they didn't do anything
they
in
could have
that.
taken the lead. I mean,
Yeah.
if they don't even get in the end zone, they don't turn it over. They kick a field goal to take the lead. Doesn't mean they win it there, but instead they end up down by 7 and they can never recover.
Yeah, I wouldn't
Gator would rank them. It looks like Purdy, Jones, easy first and second. So I don't know if that means he thinks Purdy is actually number one, and then Burrow, Allen Burrow, I guess would be 3, 4. How would you rank them? I'm curious.
um I would rank Daniel Jones first. I actually um would put Kirk Cousins second. I wouldn't necessarily rank the
Ooh,
ones that won in
okay,
I
fair
would
enough.
put Purdy is in an offense that I'm pretty sure, Kyle, you could get in that offense and look
Well,
really good.
I mean, I can't
So
really throw a football well. Maybe my wife could, but I can't. Like the Debo Samuel run, like that's all Debo, and good
right.
blocking by Ayuk, right? So yeah, you're using his athleticism to his advantage, but to be fair, there were some throws that Purdy made that weren't great. Like there were some misses, but
Yeah,
it
I
also
would put
seemed
Purdy
like
third. I mean, he's in the top 3, but I think Cousins did a really good job except for that last throw.
yeah,
Um,
Cousins was great. He neither defense was particularly good in that Giants Vikings game.
yeah.
So,
So
but especially the Vikings defense, they seemed like they were really bad. Like they had no answer at all. And kudos to the Giants offense.
yeah.
I thought Brian Dable.
Uh,
It seems
he
like
doesn't
he's the
win coach of
favorite.
the year.
It seems like he is the favorite to win Coach of the Year. I still think I'd go with Tomlin. I think he deserves one. Finally, he hasn't won
Ah,
one.
I
Eventually, give
love
him one. But
Tomlin, you know
I
that.
also, if it
So
wasn't going to go to Tomlin, I think Sean McDermott deserved a ton of credit. But looks like it's going to go to Dable. And I will say, I thought he coached that game really well.
I did too. I
Even as simple as things like there was the one play I think it was Isaiah Hodgins made on the sideline, and it turned out he was good. His foot was in bounds, but it was one of those questionable ones where you're not sure. And I think he got the team to immediately run a play quickly, and didn't necessarily need to rush. I think they got a first down on that play anyway. So it coaching situationally each moment, even though it's so unexpected, it seemed like he was always ready, and was always made sure the team was ready. So I could see why Dable is the presumed winner of Coach of the Year.
yeah, like I said, in the playoffs, that's who I go with. I go with the team that I think has the better coach.
And
Kind of
this
like
was
I do
two
in
first-year
NCAA.
head coaches, so we didn't really necessarily know who was the better one. I think
No, we
Dable
did.
might have showed
You
it.
knew
Yeah,
Dable was better than yeah. You
Kevin O'Connell. I think so
yeah.
too.
The game tonight is the one I would be not so sure who the better coach is. I mean, if I was and on that theory, I don't necessarily give Mike McCarthy the edge of being a better coach because he won a Super Bowl 5 years ago with another team that had Aaron Rodgers on it. You know what I mean? Like
12
last
years
year,
ago.
12 was it 12? Nice. Like last year's playoff, they shat the bed, and that's. I mean, it was on Dak, but
It
it's
was
on
a really
Prescott.
bad play call at the end there.
Yeah.
The QB
So
draw to end the game. Yeah.
and
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 that
Todd
didn't seem
Bowles
like that
hasn't
was a
called up.
QB audible for that play call. That was what I mean. Kellen Mond is the play caller, but it seems like that was what was
Yeah.
allowed to be the play.
Oh, bye, Gator. Go
Yeah.
Bucks.
Gators head now. We'll head out in about 5 minutes. Any other games hold your attention? I guess there's the one thing I would like to mention is kudos to the Jaguars. 27-point deficits, the third highest in NFL playoff history. So good job,
So
Chargers.
are we? Is that more of a yay Jaguars or Chargers? Staley, you really need help. I mean,
I think I would be optimistic and say it's more the Jaguars. I think
okay.
part of it was again the interceptions by Lawrence. Once the Jaguars got out of their way and just started making plays, they dictated the game and they won it. So in that sense, like it took everything, and they would have known it down by 27. It took everything from that point on to go right for them, and they executed everything right from there on. Obviously, the Chargers defense can't allow that much, but I also think I put just as much blame on the Chargers offense that did
Well,
very little all game.
I would give a lot of credit to Lawrence because second year and you throw 4 interceptions in a playoff game at home, and then you rebound like you did. That's, I mean, that has, and I agree with Scampers. Had Doug Peterson deserves a bunch of credit for that because that kid could just have folded as
he could have
easily have
easily just
folded.
be coach of the year too.
Yeah, he could, but I think they have to win another game. They have to beat the Chiefs for him to be coach of the year.
Well, and I think they're supposed to not like they're supposed to vote on this before the playoffs start. I think that's what a lot of writers end up do vote before this. So it would just be regular season, but even so, like the turnaround from the Jaguars and the Giants, both pretty remarkable for first year head coaches. Although Peterson has been a head coach before, but truly the rookie with Dable. But I think that's what's going to be the impressive feat that. And because I think with the Giants, it was so early, right? Like they were like 6-1, and we were talking the worst 5-1 team ever in history, the worst 4-1 team. And like it's so early on, they had just kept winning games right from the get go, and it got into people's mind early that Dable was going to be coach of the year.
Yeah.
And I think those writers just kind of kept that going forward, and yeah, I think he's going to win it.
I mean, I'm not mad at that. Although Mike Tomlin does deserve some credit for.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Having a winning season.
I'm shocked he's never won coach of the year. I think he's probably a top 5 coach in the NFL
too. I didn't know that he never.
I don't know how you would rank the NFL head coaches, but I'd probably put him 5th, to be honest.
Who are the 4 above him?
And I'll still give Belichick the 1. I think he's earned that. And Andy Reid, everything he does is such a great head coach and play caller and talent identifier, understanding how to incorporate someone into an offense. I think he deserves massive credit, and I'll give it to Sean McVay. Like he's won it, last year he got the ring, he's won the Super Bowl. He made Goff look great for all those years, and I guess maybe this year Goff actually looked good on his own. So maybe that isn't such a feat anymore. That used to be the thing. Like, oh my God, look he's turning around Jared Goff. He should get greatest head coach ever just for that. And I think maybe Goff deserves some credit, but I think that's the clear top 3. And then to me, you could go Harbaugh, Tomlin, Pete Carroll. So I'd probably put Tomlin probably 4 or 5.
I think that I would have to put Belichick down just because he allowed
Matt Patricia to be offensive coordinator.
Yes. Yeah.
That's fair. That was a very stupid personnel move.
Yeah, and not to change it like when you saw it was going south. You know what I mean? Because of whatever.
I mean, it looks like they've changed it now. I think they've announced they're going to hire a new offensive coordinator. So I think, yeah, it didn't. You didn't need a full year to see that wasn't working.
Yeah, you didn't. Not at all. So I would put Belichick down. Andy Reid for sure. I would put Tomlin ahead of McVay, even though McVay won the Super Bowl.
Tomlin's got a Super Bowl ring too, so
yeah,
he neutralized it.
And I don't think his team after the Super Bowl shut the bed as much as the Rams did this year. So,
well, yeah, he's never had a losing season, so yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna have to put Tomlin ahead of McVay. Behind Reid, Pete Carroll. you got to give him kudos for what he did this year at Geno. Like everyone was like, they gave up Russell Wilson. They're gonna suck so bad, blah blah blah. And then Geno's like, nope, we made it to the playoffs. Wilson didn't. So,
And I mean, this is, kudos to Carroll for having good assistants around, but they had to incorporate a lot of rookies into their starting
yeah,
lineup. Of their starting 22 players in offense and defense, at least 6 are rookies?
and they did
You've
well.
got both of your offensive tackles, your running back, a couple of cornerbacks.
Who do you think is going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year?
Offensive Rookie of the Year, yeah, it's a tough one. I think Walker could get credit. I like Olave for it, but I think it's either going to go to Walker or Wilson. But I think Olave is. I thought he played really well, considering. I mean, Wilson. It seemed like Wilson when struggled with Zach Wilson. He still had some okay games with Zach Wilson, but it seems like Garrett Wilson was at his best when he had Mike White. Seemed like Olave was able to do good with Winston and with Dalton. There was maybe some. He didn't really have many games with Winston, so he didn't have any bad games with him. He had some bad games with Dalton, but that's more just sheer volume of number of games. But he was able to have some really good performances with Dalton too. Maybe he slowed down towards the end of the year, so he probably wouldn't get it for that. But I'd pick Olave, me personally. But like my coach of the year pick of Tomlin, it's probably not happening. And Scamper saying Purdy, just even the short sample size, hasn't lost a game yet as a quarterback.
When do they vote for that, though? That's not something they vote for before the playoffs?
And that's the thing. This last week might not count towards that, but he still went 5-0 to end the regular season. So is that enough games for him to win it or not? I guess that's the question.
Well, I mean, Walker, the only knock against Walker is those games that he missed. Otherwise, I would say call Walker because he was on a team that wasn't supposed to do well, and they surpassed all expectations, and a lot of it was due to him. I mean, when Geno started being the Geno that we recognized, yeah. Oh, I forgot this is a Joe Buck game. Yeah. Oh, no
I'm
sound.
hoping they're not doing a Manning cast. I was kind of hoping for a Manning cast for a
They are.
game.
It is.
Well, I'm hoping I can watch that.
I can't watch them. They're so funny. I can't watch them. It distracts from the game.
Well, better than funny than awful, because that distracts from the game.
Well, I mute. I don't listen. I mute.
That's fine. Yeah, that's probably for the best. You can make your own commentary.
Yeah, and I do.
I'd much rather listen to you than Buck and Aikman, that's for sure.
Thanks. Thanks. And the game's about to start. So we have made it on time. That's because we don't have Dan's rants. That's why. I miss you though, Dan.
Well, I think the game starts in 12 minutes from now. So we can get going. I'm on Twitter at Senator Says. Gladys is on Twitter at Gladys L. Tyler. You can of course follow along everything Going for Two Live on Twitter at Going for Two Live. It is just that. It's that simple. I don't know why I can mess that up. There's also the main Going for Two account, which will of course retweet all the articles and everything at Going for _2. That one's a little more complicated. That's why I messed up initially. But be sure to subscribe to the Going for Two YouTube channel. Just search up Going for Two Live on YouTube. Find us there. I know tomorrow night, Danny and Dee are back for another episode of the Speak On It podcast. I believe Jeff is doing an armchair show on Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken.
No one tells me what they're doing.
Yeah, they're doing a startup rookie draft. The armchair show is back this week. So 2 nights from now. So off season's in full swing. And I know Gladys, you and I will both will be splitting up on Monday nights. We'll be splitting Mondays, alternating weeks, starting the week after the Super Bowl. Technically, it's the day after. February 13th. You're taking back over the 2-point conversion. You and Jay Eubanks will host then on the 13th, and I'll start press coverage on the next following Monday, the 20th. But I think you've also got a new venture this year, right, Gladys, with Going for Two Live?
Yeah, on Thursdays. So I will alternate Thursdays with Dynasty Gambit, I think. But starting the Thursdays, so that same week on the 16th, I will be doing a show called In No Particular Order, in which I have a guest, and we will do mock drafts. And so I think the first mock draft we're doing is serial killers, and the second mock draft we're doing is movies, and these are different guests, of course. Movies and music videos, and then the third one is 80s bands. It's whatever they want. So you should tune in. It's like 45 minutes probably. I'm gonna hope like not longer than 45 minutes. And the first guest will be the gentleman who won the Scott Fish Bowl, Cody Armstrong. And I'm not really sure what we're mocking because he hasn't told me what he wanted to mock yet, but I'm sure to be something interesting. Not the serial killers. Yeah, I'm excited.
Sure. I guess that's something if you can catch the live, of course. It'll be again starting Thursday, February 16th. But if you don't catch it live, you can rewatch the episodes. And if you miss some, you don't have to rewatch them in any particular order.
Exactly. Thank you.
I guess in no particular order.
In no particular order. It's okay. It's the no particular order podcast.
I'm just putting any words there. No words. Well, no, I'm never putting no words. I'm always talking.
It's okay. We like to hear you talk.
Apparently everyone does because Scampers was here. Gator.
I know.
Courtney, of course, our co-host Dan, Jamie as well, the Cleveland connoisseur.
Shane?
Yes. Oh yeah, Shane. How can I forget Shane? Shane is definitely the best. I'm the worst.
Okay. And we appreciate you guys so much for listening to us.
Yes,
come listen to us in the off season. And Kyle, I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
I appreciate you, Gladys. Yeah, I appreciate everyone who's supported us throughout this. And yeah, I guess this is our final in-season episode of the 2-point conversion. So Gladys and I are signing off officially. We'll see you all in about a month.
Bye. Good luck, everyone.
I'll be on the Dynasty Gambit Thursday, so I'll see you on Thursday. On Mondays, I'll see you in about a month.
Good luck, everyone.
Take care.